You're very welcome to Galway Talks. Coming up in the programme today, Galway City Mayor Mike Cubbard to contest Galway West by-election as independent. Councillor Mike Cubbard joins us in the studio this morning. Mike, good morning and thanks for joining us on Galway Talks.
Morning, John.
You ran in general elections before. Why have you decided to contest this by-election?
Good morning, John, and morning to your listeners. I suppose I've reflected over the last number of weeks and months since President Connolly took her seat in Ars Nuthron and created the vacancy, and I suppose I asked myself the question, can I add to what Galway needs in terms of the national picture? I suppose I've reflected on that, and I've reflected on, I suppose, the challenge for family, the financial challenge of a campaign, and then people I spoke to in different communities, not just in the city but in the county as well. I suppose gave me more and more confidence as the weeks went by that yes, I should contest and that I would add value to Galway. I would add value to representing Galway City and County in Leicester House. So that's why I made the decision. I suppose you've asked me several times yourself, in fairness, since Christmas. We've been on different issues and you've put the question to me I think 4 times now, John. But I did tell you it wouldn't be I suppose a quick decision. It would be reflective of those conversations I've had to have, and that's why I've come to the decision. I think and you've seen in my press release a very simple message of Galway First. That's my campaign is going to be built on. Galway First, not just as a slogan, but as policy going forward.
And I suppose the departure of Catherine Connie, she now in the Áras, of course, as Uachtaráin na hÉireann, does that leave the perfect opening for you, that vacancy of a left-wing independent candidate in the Galway West constituency?
Well, I suppose as an independent, I'd be strong that Galway would need an independent voice and a strong independent voice. And I suppose you mentioned there, I contested previous general elections, and I have no issue with not winning those seats as such, because again, I learned from them. I learned a lot, and you learn a lot from defeat more than victory at times. And again, when you're up against, I suppose, heavy vote getters such as now President Connolly and Deputy and now Minister Noel Grealish as well, 2 independents out of 5. Being realistic and being honest about things, were there ever going to be 3 independents elected out of 5? Very, very difficult to see that. But again, you have to keep your toe in the water as well at times. So again, I've developed. I'm almost 12 years now at local level. I think I've the experience now to go and represent Galway on the national level, and I do it with a real grow for Galway, and that's just Galway City, Galway County, Galway Inc. I wear the maroon jersey. I love the city and love this county, and I feel we haven't got a fair crack at the whip over the last while. So if this creates now a vacancy around an independent left seat, as you call it, and people see me as the progression from Catherine into in our replace Catherine, I'll take that. But again, I'm going there as Mike Cubbard, not as Catherine Connolly or anybody else. I'm going there as myself. I think I've proven at a local level over the last 12 years that I can deliver. And if you look at my local vote, and people who may not know me living in Galway West, if you look at my local vote, in the last 4 local elections, it's increased every single election, which has to say something in terms of my work rate on the ground, and the local people know that I work rate is good and that I deliver on the ground. And if people can, I suppose, give me that chance now on a national level and the broader scale in Galway, that yes, he can deliver locally, let's give him a chance to do it on a national level for all of Galway. And be very, very clear, if I don't deliver, well then don't re-elect me, but give me that one chance, because I've done it locally. I've asked that one chance, and my line was in 2014, if I don't do it, don't put me back in again. And thankfully the people of Galway Centre have.
You are a city councillor. How are you going to make inroads into the likes of Connemara and the county?
Well, the first thing is to go and listen. And again, even in the last couple of hours, I've received an email from Letterfrack regarding the Kylemore Bridge, around flooding out there. And flooding is an issue, as we know, in the city. Flooding is an issue in Claregalway. And this goes back to the whole point of infrastructure. And when I say infrastructure, and again, I go and I've represented the city as mayor, as you know. I've represented the city as a city councillor. And I've always used the phrase one Galway. I don't see boundaries of a city boundary line or a county boundary line. We have to come with a one Galway approach when we're looking for funding in particular, and around infrastructure. And I mentioned flooding in particular. Flooding is an issue in Galway. Water doesn't stop at the boundary of the city or the county. And again, I'm going forward as a candidate, not just for Galway City, but for urban Galway, for rural Galway, for people living in the far reaches of Connemara, as you mentioned, people on the east side of the constituency, as someone who really has the passion for Galway. And I want to deliver for Galway, and I want the chance to operate and fight for Galway to get the level of infrastructure and investment we need. We can't have a situation, John, where we've seen the last decade, and we've spoken on this at the last general election debate, where the investment in Galway was under 4.5% of the national investment for infrastructure. And that's around wastewater, around housing, around transport. And whether that's in the city, or in Connemara, or in Claregalway, or Clarenbridge, it's the same result. It's failure in terms of investment, and that can't continue. So I want to go forward with a one Galway attitude, one Galway First prerogative, and hopefully deliver for all of Galway.
Okay. You said to me before, when I've been pressing you on whether you're going to go for this by-election or not, that you wouldn't do so until you had a full team in place. that leads me to believe perhaps you have gobbled up some of the Catherine Connolly campaign team or other supporters out in the likes of Connemara, have you?
Well, people have contacted me, which was quite, I suppose, refreshing. People from different parts of Galway saying, I've watched you for many years, and I think now is your time to represent all of Galway going forward. Can I join your campaign? Can I help you with a canvass in my local town, my local village?
Some from the Connolly campaign?
Some who may have been involved in the campaign in the past, but some who've generally just a grow for politics. So again, I suppose my team has always been small, but been very effective, and I've always been, I've always operated my own little campaign team. We've delivered at local level, quite a substantial vote at local level. In the last local election, I had the highest vote in Galway city, right across the city. But again, I've added to that team now, which is good. It's not going to be busloads of people arriving out to different places. It's going to be a small but effective team. And if people really truly believe that I'm the person to represent them, and if people believe I have the skill set and the experience now to go and represent them, their city, their county, their town, their village, their community, I would say join the team. Come on board. Meet me for a coffee in the next couple of days. Have a chat and see, are you going to join the team? Because again, I've added a few, as I said. A few more will join, I'm sure. And in areas where I wouldn't have support before, I have a small few coming at the moment. So
I want to compare the Gaeilge Lowers.
To Muncher Nua Agam, Catherine Tashi on Brodal, as Bradlam and Changa Gaeilge. About 6 weeks ago, John, I sat down and started back doing Irish lessons.
In preparation for this run?
That, but also, I suppose, my kids are one is in junior cert, two are at the back end of primary level. And I suppose, like most people, you have the language inside you somewhere and just try to drag it back out again. And so I started doing lessons.
So it's not tokenistic for this generation?
No, it is not. No, I really do love the language, and it's I enjoy it. I really enjoy the lessons. My moonshore Catherine comes to my house on a Monday evening. Catherine's excellent, and when I open the door, I'm not allowed to speak English. It's cup on tea, no cafe. It's very simple stuff, but it's very basic stuff that we should be doing on a daily basis. And, I know I spent a couple of hours out in Carrow a few weeks ago with a teacher out there, and I hope to go out. I was sent details of a week-long course out there in June. So again, I'm not fluent yet, but hopefully I'm back here speaking to you fluent as Gaeilge.
You mentioned earlier on this conversation about that lack of investment in Galway, and a lot of people might argue that you and other councillors are to blame for that, for not amalgamating the city and county. What would you say to that?
Well, it was never put to us to amalgamate. That's a national decision first and foremost. That even put the question to the people of Galway. You've seen what happened in Limerick.
Councillors don't even want to put to a question.
But what councillors? That was never asked of me. We didn't go to a vote.
Would you be happy to amalgamate the city and the county?
If it's more effective for Galway, I have no problem with that. I've said to you before, and I was one of the only people I think that's ever said it to anybody in media, maybe we need less councillors and put them full-time. And if they're more effective, that's good for Galway, that's fine. Having 39 councillors in the county and 18 in the city at the moment, is it too many? Probably is. If the local authorities were amalgamated and there's more of an investment and more delivery of infrastructure and projects for Galway, well, that's a positive thing. Absolutely, I have no problem saying that. And again, when I said it before with yourself, people were saying to me, are you mad? You're calling for less politicians. You're calling for some of your colleagues to be out of a job. If it's less councillors but they're full-time, and people forget that the councillors are a part-time role in essence, even though it's 24/7.
It's all right putting them full-time. Are you going to give them more powers alongside that?
That needs more power, but it needs more investment, and needs money. And if an amalgamation with more, I suppose, structure in place for one Galway, as I say, I mean, the people of Galway don't want to hear about or don't care about boundaries, or this is the city boundary line, this is the county boundary line. People want delivery and people want results for Galway, and Galway is what's lacking in terms of investment at the moment.
Okay.
So whether that's an amalgamation or whether it's a complete restructuring of investment to local authorities, something has to change, because we can't go down the road of looking back in 10 years' time again, John, having less than 5% of the national investment in the west of Ireland and in Galway. That's not good enough.
How would you put Galway first in terms of this current fuel crisis? How do you think government are faring?
I think the government have had a poor response, quite frank. I think the government have taken on a sort of a wait-and-see attitude, which is not good enough.
They've brought in measures now.
They've brought in measures, but I think they're not good enough. They're quite weak.
What would you put in?
I think what you need to do is bring in legislation, firstly, that will cap the pricing of fuel pricing, put a maximum cap on that, so we can see at least, at the moment, we've seen ridiculous price gouging in many places overnight, literally.
Would you be able to do that with competition law?
I think
cap fuel pricing.
Well, and that's a good point. I think you could. I think legislation would allow, but I think you'd also bring in the consumer and customer protection watchdog.
CCPC.
Yeah. And look at some of these people who are bringing in massive increases in prices, And
there's been investigations before, and it said there were no price gouging, the likes of the war in Ukraine.
There has been, yeah, but this is quite serious now. When they're going up by 30 and 40 cents in the space of 48 hours, some places it's crazy. And again, that reaction that government have come in with doesn't sit well with people who have bills come through the doors this morning, who are trying to get from A to B with work and school and so on and so forth. People trying to get to appointments in hospitals, and the cost of putting diesel or petrol in the car, the cost of heating homes, and
So what would you do differently in terms of the cost of heating homes? How would you fix that?
Well, I think what we need to do first, again, you look at the fuel. 60% of petrol or 65% of diesel is tax. So we need to make really big decisions around.
Would you get rid of all that excise and carbon? Would you get rid of carbon tax?
I think the carbon tax needs to be paused for quite a while. Again, you look at that, and we talk about the 13 billion plus VAT of the Apple funds that's sitting there. We were told by the Taoiseach of the day that it was for a rainy day fund. I mean, it's raining now. It's people are struggling. People have bills come through the doors, I say, today, tomorrow, the next day, and they don't know what they're going to be paying for fuel. They can't be sure if they're going to heat their homes. And again, I think the small measures that came in from the government, and it's been like the government saying they're being financially prudent. That doesn't sit well with the person at home that can't heat their house this morning. So being financially prudent is one thing, but being realistic and having a common sense approach. Hold on a second. What we have control of is the level of the taxation that's coming in. And bear in mind, John, you've seen the increases in prices in the last couple of weeks. You've seen the increases that we've seen overnight in many cases. And what that's done, that's increased the VAT income. That's increased the tax income for government. So they're actually making money off this at the moment. So put it back in straight away, and whether that be fuel grants to people across this country in terms of making sure people have guarantee of income. But at the moment, there's no security, and people are genuinely worried. And I know obviously it's been caused by the war in Iran. When that ends, nobody knows. And that's the real problem. It's a really concern for people at the moment across Galway.
But it's all good and well turning on that tap, but it's very difficult to then turn it off down the line. Would you not accept that? And that government, if they start doing spending like that, where do you draw the line in that regard? Do you blow the whole of the two reserves we have, the rainy day funds?
But again, that comes down to why we're in politics. We're in politics to make decisions. You have to make big decisions and tough decisions at times. And I don't think the decision at the moment was enough. And again, I'm very clear as an independent. I've done this all my career in politics. If I believe something is good, I will vote for it and support it. And I don't care if that's from a government party. I don't care if it's from an opposition party. I don't care where that comes from. If I see the good in something, and particularly at this election, if I see the good for Galway, I'll support it. Or if I see the good for the people I represent or will be representing if elected to Dáil Éireann, I will vote for it. But in this instance, I don't see it as enough. And again, there's people are genuinely struggling, John. I'm sure you've had them onto your own show. People are struggling, and it's the uncertainty that's really crippling people. They're not sure what's happening next. And again, if government have to make big decisions around those rainy day funds that are there, and around funds that are there to protect and I suppose support the people of Ireland, let's do it. And then when the decision comes, we'll see how things develop with the war in Iran, and we'll see how things develop in terms of supply of fuel. Then you make the big decision just to turn off the tap again. But for the moment, in the real and the now, people are struggling, and that's what we have to deal with at the moment.
Well, this fuel crisis also has an impact in terms of housing, because it's putting the costs up in terms of construction and that sector, which has a knock-on effect down the chain when you go to, I suppose, purchasing a home yourself. What would you do? What policies do you have in terms of fixing the housing crisis?
Well, the biggest problem we have in the housing crisis is I go back to infrastructure. And again, we know the problems we have with wastewater infrastructure, and developers are saying they can't even start because the connection issues aren't there. They can't connect to the systems because the infrastructure is not there to take the capacity. We see people in rural Ireland.
Government have done so much investment into the likes of Ishgare and other bodies, and they have made changes in terms of the local authorities taking over those facilities once they are up and running.
They have, and there has been some progress, and again, it's always going to be a supply and demand issue, and it's an issue that every government of the day will always see as a challenge, housing. I think, but we need to ramp up. And investment, you're right, has been there in Ishgare, but we have the problem at the moment is you have government on one hand, you have a national department telling us build, and on the other hand you've got Ishgare saying you can't keep building because we haven't got the infrastructure. And the problem with Ishgare at the moment is, and I see it at my local level as a councillor, a lot of what they're doing is, I suppose, the repair works and the fixing of old piping and old systems, and the capacity in terms of bodies, first and foremost, of funding is not there to do the other work as well, to create the infrastructure in place for new investment and new development. So again, we can't keep ramping up our housing delivery until we have the infrastructure in place, the people in place and the expertise in place to deliver. And that's both for urban Ireland and for rural Ireland. And again, we have those infrastructure problems with wastewater right across Galway, and that needs to be addressed as a priority going forward.